Change your heart, change your life, change the planet. So today I was thinking about some people that I know in my life that have different abilities when it comes to this idea of theory of mind. One person that I know quite well never has any idea what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you may want, what experience you might be having. And it's fascinating to listen to them communicate because they'll use words that are so general that there's no possible way you could know what they're talking about. For instance, what did you think of it? What is this it? I don't know what the it is. You're going to have to give me more information because I'm not in your head. I'm in my head, and I'm in the world, and I don't see an it in the world. And in my head, it can mean anything. So you're going to have to tell me what it means. And it's like they're having a conversation with themselves that they think everybody else is privy to. Like that I'm in there with them, that there is one universal mind or consciousness, and I can hear their thoughts. And this is not something that rarely happens. This is the norm of their communication style. And they're always coming up with big ideas for inventions or screenplays, or very imaginative, creative person. And half the time, these ideas have already been done for decades, and it wouldn't be anything new or novel, but they don't know that because they're not really tuned into what other people are doing or thinking or watching. And other times, maybe it's never been done before, but there's a good reason that it's never been done before, because nobody would want to do it. But because in their mind it seems interesting or fascinating or novel, they project that as a universal or global experience, that if I think it's cool, it is. Because we all have the same experience. We all have the same preferences and the same tastes. So with this person that I grew up with, it's pretty clear that they have very, very little theory of mind. And they don't know how to model emotions in others, nor do they know what to do when someone is having an emotional experience. But that doesn't make this person bad. It doesn't make this person selfish. They're actually incredibly generous. One of the most generous people that I know. It's just that they have no idea what other people need. So when they offer something, they're offering what they like or what they want or what they would want in this particular situation, and it may be the opposite of what is needed. It may actually be quite offensive or hurtful to the other person. And you could look at them and say, oh, that was a really mean thing to do. But from their perspective, they were being generous and kind. So I've experienced that in my life, and this has led me to really think differently about intention. And then I have somebody else that I'm really close to that's at the opposite end of this spectrum. They have an incredibly elaborate theory of mind, to the point where they're predicting behaviors and emotions that there are no visible clues for. They're preemptively trying to manage the environment because in their mind, they've got all these characters. Whoever happens to be in their environment becomes a character in their mind. They've got a little theater in their mind, populated by everybody who is present, and a lot of people who aren't present. And they imagine you doing something, and then they imagine one of these other people being offended by it, say. And then they tell you, you had better behave. And it's like, what do you mean I had better behave? What have I done? Well, that person's going to be upset. What? What just happened? Like, I didn't do anything. That person's not upset. Nothing happened in the real world. But in their mind, there was an altercation. Because in their mind, they imagined what I was thinking of doing, and then they imagined me actually doing it, and then they imagined the response of the other person, and then they imagined that that other person is going to think poorly of them because they didn't do something to stop this from happening to begin with. So they're trying to preemptively control or pretend to the situation so that nobody ever gets offended or hurt. And the reality is that they feel that other human beings are incredibly dangerous and threatening. And I get this because I'm an exceptionally shy person with a ridiculously large theory of mind. So I understand this. So if you can manage people's perceptions, if you can stop problems before they even happen, or in the Minority Report with Tom Cruise, they call it pre-crime. Let's stop the crime before it happens. This is what shy people that are scared of other human beings, all other human beings, this is what we do. We're always playing chess 3 or 4 steps in advance of what's actually happening. And then we're looking at, okay, if this person says this, it could lead to this, it could lead to this, and then that's going to happen, and then I'm going to be hurt. They're going to come at me. Or I'm going to be in the midst of a conflict, and I can't handle conflict. I can't handle yelling or angry people. So you're always trying to subdue the situation and everyone in it. You're micromanaging everyone in your environment so that you don't have to feel threatened. So, is that theory of mind? Technically, it would qualify as theory of mind because you're imagining that other people have minds and that these minds have ups and downs, that they have emotions, and that there are triggers for these emotions, and that these triggers can be in the environment, and you're imagining how they're perceiving the environment. So you're taking on multiple points of views, but they're not really points of views, they're points of use, because each one of them is coming from a single point of view, yours. You're just extrapolating your point of view and projecting it onto other people or into other people. So I want to change this term, theory of mind, and instead I want to use the term theater of mind, because I think that's a more apt description. In fact, if you look at the word theory, it comes from the Greek thea, which means a view. And theater also comes from thea. Theater is a place to view things, a place for viewing. So a theory is a view of something. And generally we use that term to mean an internal view, a speculative or contemplative view. But I don't think that's really useful or helpful in the extreme. I think there's a tipping point. So ideally, we're not the first person that I talked about, which has no idea that other people have minds or thoughts or emotions or desires different from their own. And then the other person who is constantly imagining everybody's thoughts and believing that they're accurate. Someone who believes that they're psychic would be at the very far end of that spectrum. Ideally, I think you want to use this so-called theory or theater of mind to wake you up to the moment. To look at someone and say, okay, is there data right now that I'm getting from this person? I'm perceiving an expression on your face, and it's likely that there's an emotion behind that expression. Now, I can run a simulation if I'm shy, because I'm too scared to ask you a question. I'm too scared to find out what it is you're actually feeling. Instead, I'm just kind of try to manage your perception so I can avoid you even saying that you're angry. I'll just try to diffuse it before it becomes real. But instead of going that route, which I've done for most of my life, instead what I'm realizing now is that questions are incredibly powerful. They're far more effective, and they're much less scary than you realize. So I perceive an expression leading to an emotion. I run a simulation. That emotion is likely anger, but I'm not certain. I'm not going to go into certainty. I'm going to say, ooh, what's going on? Are you okay? Are you upset? Did I say something that bothered you? They may say, no, I'm fine. I just was thinking about this guy that cut me off in traffic 20 minutes ago. And I kind of went back there and replayed it. And you're like, oh, so it's not about me. No, not about you at all. So Theory of mind is a starting place. And I made a video about this the other day where I talked about the difference between empathy and compassion, where empathy requires this theory of mind, but it's a more visceral experience. You're really feeling it, like you're embodying their physical state or their emotional state, or at least what you perceive to be their physical or emotional state. But then compassion is shifting from that place and saying, ooh, it's likely that they're in pain. Let me ask a question. Is that true? And if so, how can I help? What can I do? Same thing here. But it doesn't have to be about suffering and pain in this situation. It can be about anything. It could be something that you want, something that you need, something that you're thinking. It looks like you're stewing something over. What's up? What's going on? Rather than imagining like, oh no, are they thinking what I think they're thinking? Crap. Ask them. So again, theory of mind can quickly become theater of mind if you don't pause and ask questions. People rely too much on their simulations. They rely too much on their intuition and their inner dialogue. And I think we should spend a heck of a lot more time asking questions, being curious, before jumping to conclusions and being certain, especially now in the political arena, where people are so quick to damn someone because they might have voted for a particular presidential candidate, or they might belong to some particular party, and we don't get to know them at all. We see them as very featureless. They all belong in one group, one category, rather than saying, what makes you unique? How did you come to these conclusions? Why did you take this action? What's that about? What's going on right now? And getting to the bottom of who they are as an individual. But that requires a dialogue. It requires questions. And that's something that I'm not seeing a whole lot of these days. Instead, I'm seeing a lot of people yelling and being certain of what the other person is or believes because they've got this theater of mind going. So I'm learning to ask questions. I'm learning to acknowledge when my brain wants to go off into theater mode, and then to catch it and say, okay, this is what it looks like in my head, but the world is not my head. So let's stop, rewind, and ask. And I think that's something that we should encourage a lot more of in our world right now.